Yes. City Council President Suzanne Souter. Councilperson Joseph Day. Councilperson Durham Zubaka. Councilperson Andrew Zelt. Councilperson Brian Mattaway. Also in attendance is Mayor Valerie Leary, City Treasurer Janet Carlin, City Building Official Jeff Bergstrom, Chief of Police Richard McCabe, City Solicitor Matt Walton.
Okay, we're going to change the order of the agenda a bit, and we're going to start the honorary resolution and as the just before public comments. We're going to do that first. So, Mr. Bennett?
Thank you. Fire Marshal Wade Beating will come up front and his wife Kim. They know. Read the resolution. Resolution number 2024-6, a resolution to honor retiring Fire Marshal Grover P. Engel. Whereas Grover P. Engel joined the Goodwill Fire Company in 1972, a few years before becoming a member, he was elected to the position of first fire lieutenant, thus beginning the start of his fire line journey, where he rose rank to become fire chief in 1982. Whereas Chief Engel served as fire chief of the Goodwill Fire Company for 12 years, and in 1994 was bestowed Fire Chief Emeritus. Whereas Chief Engel was hired by the Delaware Office of the State Fire Marshal in 1990 and was appointed the State Fire Marshal June 1st, 2007. Whereas Fire Marshal Engel retired from the Office of the State Fire Marshal in 2023 after 33 years of dedicated service. Whereas Grover P. Engel has been a City of Newcastle resident for over 60 years and received a 50 years of service award from Goodwill Fire Company and the Delaware Volunteer Firemen Association in 2022. Whereas Grover P. Engel served as president of the Newcastle County Fire Chiefs Association, president of the Delaware State Fire Chiefs Association, and is Delaware State Fire School instructor, and holds numerous other professional memberships. Whereas Grover P. Engel remains an intricate part of the Goodwill Fire Company, serving on its board of directors, and whereas the city and the Goodwill Fire Company jointly recognize and acknowledge that Grover P. Engel has gone above and beyond his professional duties to serve the residents of the city of Newcastle by providing exemplary service and selfless leadership to the city and the company for the benefit of all the city residents and visitors. Now therefore be it resolved, the city of Newcastle, jointly with Goodwill Fire Company, hereby adopts this honorary resolution in recognition of Grover P. Engel's long-standing, substantial, and generous service to the city, the company, and all the citizens of Delaware. Thank you, Fire Marshal Grover P. Engel, passed this 13th day of February 2024. So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
and we just gonna have the members and friends come up for a quick picture.
Okay. Other one, maybe the sequence, this year from Superintendent of Colonial School District, Jeremy. Yeah, to speak with us this evening to present information about the coming referendum. His presence does not indicate the council is taking a position on the referendum. He will not be taking questions or comments from the public. Students already have for Q&A sessions, including one tonight, I believe. And Dr. Mendes, thank you.
Thank you. As you all probably know, the Corner School District is seeking on February 29th. We have had several public hearings. We've had probably questions. Thought I would share with this group like what the specific items are that are on the table for the community and how I believe that it definitely benefits this and its residents. There are two questions specifically that are in the public. Request and a capital request. The capital request is to improve our facilities. And there are $122 million worth of projects in that request. The state has agreed to pay 60% of that. They recognize that what we have put forward merit upgrading and every school is getting something from that, whether at the elementary school, new playgrounds, safety enhancements included in their building, sidewalks, driveways, car rider lines are a big one in elementary school. If you obviously live in Newcastle or you drive by Newcastle or Perry down, the car rider lines tend to be a little bit in the way. That's something that those schools were built almost 60 years ago. That was before car rider lines really even existed, and roads were not built for that. In order for us to address that, we believe that our parking lot and our driveway need some attention in order to mitigate the impact that it has both on our staff and our students and families, but as well as the community. Our playgrounds, some of our schools, our elementary schools, they are their original playgrounds. Pleasantville, Wilmington Manor, go by and look at them, utilize and swing looks like they've been there for a while. Newcastle specifically, or William Penn, whichever one you sit in, because I know that that's a touchy stuff. It's the old William Penn High School, the old Newcastle Middle School, and now Newcastle Elementary School. That is getting a significant portion of the capital ask to address inside the building quality, air quality, like quality of life issue. The building is old in the 1920s. It's been renovated and upgraded, but in different phases with different technologies and different systems that don't actually work well together. It's time for us to give some attention to that. It will make it a better environment for our students and staff. The other big portion of the capital ask is going towards our middle schools and our high school athletic facilities. The middle schools sports facilities are really just grass fields that have a backstop. That's unacceptable. The track in George Reed, if you've ever been there, it's not really safe to call it a track. It's an oblong circle of dirt path around a spot of green. There used to be a track there. There used to be a track that we call a track at Tony Bedford. Those facilities need to be brought up to a higher quality so our families feel pride in what their children are participating in, pride, and are safe in participating in those environments. Perhaps the biggest capital part that's getting the most attention is William Penn. Their playground, so to speak, it is the largest high school in the state of Delaware. It has a large campus. Its exterior facilities, its athletic facilities are getting a significant upgrade if they were to pass, including a stadium with a multi-purpose field inside the stadium with a track, 3 turf practice fields, upgrades to the existing baseball and softball fields, tennis courts that can function moved into the existing football stadium. The new stadium would be proposed to be. Also, there's a major roof project at William Penn for $10 million in this ask. Again, the capital ask is $122 million worth of project. The state is footing the bill for 60%. We're asking taxpayers for 40%. All in all, a very good deal that's on the table for us to help improve the quality and safety and security of facilities. The operating ask is we are asking the taxpayers to continue to fund us at the level we're at so we can get There is no magical ad. There's no super special program you want to do. We just want to keep doing what we're doing. For those of you who've been around for a while, in 2013, we went out for a referendum and it failed the first time in February. We had to go back in June. It passed. 2017, we were back in the same situation. We had to go out to a referendum in February. There was a capital and an operating. The capital was all buildings getting secure vestibule in their facility. We have secure entrances, right? We have doorbells and buzzers and cameras, but these were secure vestibules. People when they came in to get that in the building. That was on that ask as well as an operating. They both failed. In June, we went back out. We dropped the capital. We knew that that was not going to pass. People didn't want to use their money for that. We ended up getting the operating pass in June of 2017. We heard the community loud and clear during that campaign. I was part of that. And the message was very simple. Don't come to us when you only want money. Pretty straightforward. They were direct. They were not happy. They were direct. But as soon as that referendum passed, we made a commitment that we were going to be about listening to our constituents, listening to our students and our staff. But how have we evolved and emerged out of that timeframe? Where I believe right now the Colonial School District is meeting the needs of its students, is meeting the needs of its community to the best of its ability. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to have decisions that people aren't going to like. Fully recognize that. But our best interest is the students and the staff of our schools. We are asking you this operating request to just fund us to allow us to continue to do that. Costs have increased all across the board. We need to fill that deficit that we're currently in. If the operating referendum is unsuccessful, we will be to take up a $6 million deficit in our budget next school year. In 2017, that deficit was $2.5 million. For that deficit, we cut 165 staff. That was not just cut people losing jobs, but we closed vacancies. This is not going to be the same. This is a bigger deficit. This is going to require much more struggle and challenge for us to make sure that we're putting our students first. We're asking the community to support both. We've taken a very conscious, made a conscious decision to be as transparent as possible, because in the past people were accusing us of not talking about these things. There's a billboard right down the street, big front and center. Bellevue is coming. There's a huge billboard on Route 40. Same. It's on our website. It's on the digital sign in front of William Penn. Every principal is talking about it every time they interact with the public. All of our schools have all collaterals in them that explain exactly what is happening. Anybody is free to grab them. And I'm going to leave a stack here with you all to do it as you see fit. There's one that has the operating and the capital request in it. There's one where to vote. Make sure that's the first thing. It's key. Go out and vote. George Reed, Harry Downey, William Penn, and then the William Penn Athletics at Capitol Hills. My printer left off the desk, so I'll make sure that it gets you. We believe that this is the right time for Colonial School District. Our facilities need it, our students deserve it. I also need I'll take any questions from council members if they have regarding specifics or anything related to any part of this, and I'll do the best I can to respond.
We do appreciate it. Is there somewhere where a citizen can go online and see what the actual cost will be?
Yes, sir. On our website, there's a calculator. Go to the Colonial School District website, it's referendum 2024, the tab, and there's a menu option. There's a calculator, and you can see how to find your tax parcel, because it's your assessed value, not your bargain value, it's your assessed value. You can type in your assessed value, and then you can see the operating request is total 40 cents. It's 25, 10, 5. It's going to be steeped in over 3 years. And so you can see how it will increase for those 3 years. And then on the third year, that's what it will be for those 3 consecutive years. That's correct. Now the operating, you have to that's different because it's a bond and it's over 25 years. So it goes up and down. I believe at its peak, it'll be at 17 cents at the highest point. and then it'll begin to decline after that as we pay back the bond. And I think that on the calculator website, we have like a sample, like year one, I think we have what the capital will be, year 2, year 3. We don't go out 25 years because you wouldn't be able to fit it on a page. But it is on the notice of election, it's posted in the newspaper. You can see the full payment cycle or the increase that we were obligated to post at the special notice of special election.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Dr. Members, thanks for being here. 2 questions. One, are there other districts in the state that are trying to do referendum? And then 2, have you done a comparative analysis in respect to Colonial School District's facilities compared to other school districts, et cetera?
So first, yes, there are several other districts that are going out to referendum. If you did not aware, Appoquinimink went to referendum in December, failed. It was an operating and a capital ask. Brandywine is going out right now, today. They're voting today. Red Clay is on the 28th, operating and a capital ask. We are on the 29th with an operating and capital. Smyrna, Cape Henlopen, and Apo is now going back out. They've announced it today sometime in here. But we are not the only district in the state that is seeking this opportunity. In terms of a comparative analysis of other districts, can't necessarily, I don't have the analysis of the other districts, but
I'm sorry, I meant something, for example, like you mentioned, like some of the athletic fields.
sure, so
How do our fields go compared to a Middletown or
I'm saying your borderline is embarrassing. I mean, if you look at William Penn High School over the last 10 years, and you look at the investment we made inside the walls, Penn Farm, the bistro, the phlebotomy lab, the innovation center, the library is now created in our facility for students. The digital media studio, with all the ads and things that you see on YouTube and our social media, computer science program, our ROTC program. We have invested heavily on the academics, because back, I was principal there in 2005 and 4 when people said, look, this is tired old school, we're not doing anything. We're just sitting in desks and staring at teachers. But we built this thing, just like William Penn, program that can engage students and learn real world trades and skills to help them decide what they want to do. Invested tons of money into that for the neglect of athletics. There has not been a significant upgrade to William Penn's athletic facility in 30 years. And I mean significant. I mean, yeah, we touched up the dugout. Yeah, we added some ADA compliant ramps on the home side of the stadium. The visitor side doesn't have handicap access. Our fields are on borderline unsafe. We've had multiple injuries over the course of the last 2 seasons. The official break of your ankle, a couple of visiting of teams with torn ACLs. That's on the football field, and the same thing on the soccer field. Just drive down the road over the bridge, take a gander over at St. George's, Apo, go over to Newark Charter, go up to Absinio. Those are state-of-the-art facilities that our students are going. You go down to Cesar Rodney or Dover, beautiful complexes that their students are participating in. Our students, it's embarrassing. If you go watch on our website, those of you who've been around a while, we have athletes who came back and coach for us and work for us. Charlie Hope, standing in the William Penn weight room, that he helped put together the equipment that's there right now in 1985. It's still there, same stuff. In the same room. It's time for students of the Colonial School District to have a better opportunity when they
presenting these facts. Well, first, it's easy one. Does
You're not allowed to ask a second.
does the Eisenberg Elementary School also get improvement of the player? I don't think every single day, Eisenberg.
Yes,
Like, and that's just, I want to be like, form, feel like. Playground.
every elementary school is getting is slated to get an upgraded playground, and Eisenberg definitely is sad. I would tell you to go look at Pleasantville, it's even sadder. I talked to the neighbor behind Pleasantville who asked me that at the forum we just had. He said, "You about that? That's embarrassing." Yes, that's on the books.
Unfortunately, right? not that, just curious, and then, if this is to be voted successfully, what is the kind of timeline that you're looking for, these, especially capital projects?
Capital, the projects are 5 years, over 5 years, and each one has been kind of steeped out in our application to the state. I don't have the exact schools right off the top of my head, but the bulk of them are in like year 3 and 4. The ones that are farthest out, I believe, Southern and Wilbur are slated to get secure vestibule entrances, but because of the design of those buildings being so unique, those are north of 105 million, $1.5 million each. Their great thing is that they're the identical school, so it's like one set of blueprints, really super cool. But those projects are like in year 5, I believe, but it should be over the next 5 years if the capital approves.
Thank you. And then, may I ask a third question? We as the city are having a playground subcommittee that's looking at a Battery Park playground as well as the playgrounds across the city. So would your office share with us, strategies around picking equipment for, especially for, ADA compliant equipment?
Sure, I think, I saw it today, by the way, it's really super exciting. That rendering that I saw is anything that's gonna be happening for this community, because it's very, very exciting. The Calmar Nickel Field.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be a good idea.
So I do know that that came to my office from our principal of Leach School, which is our student school for severe and profound disabled. And she's encouraging all her staff to join you in the forums so that they can be part of the share theirs.
So that'd be great.
Yeah, so she definitely, they're all in. In fact, Carrie Downey Elementary School last year, they have a STEM club that meets in the library during lunch. And their Lego STEM challenge was to design and build an ADA compliant playground. So they had to research all that stuff.
That's awesome.
I mean, I love to have them present. They probably got the answer.
That'd be great.
Amazing on TikTok. Like they're gonna get it, right? So like they built these cool playgrounds with Legos and then they presented it at the STEM showcase and they actually presented it with school. So we are definitely all in. I mean, there will be people jumping up for that. I mean, I have to say that was perfect timing. What better case to make that playgrounds are important? There's nothing better. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question. You said the state's covering 60%, and the rest of us are covering 40%. What are the other districts that they cover like 60%?
The capital is 60/40. That's the formula for the state. Red Clays, the Clay is a similar situation. Most districts north of the canal are not in the space of expansion and building new schools. That's how you get a new school, student growth and enrollment. Our enrollment is fairly flat, if not declining a little bit since COVID. We're not going to grow to need a new high school or a new building. That would be, we would have to have some serious, we would have to do some real creative enrollment numbers to make it look like our buildings are bursting at the seams in order to generate a new building. So Red Clay they've kind of tapped out their market. I believe they built a couple of elementary schools in the last 10 years. Some of their schools are aging as well. They're in that upgrade and improvement mode. We're not APO where they're sitting in meetings like this and approving 700 home subdivisions like Hanover Fisk. That's what I see coming down there. And it's like, oh my God, that's new school. It's popping up right across from some of the airports. There's an elementary school now. There's going to be a middle school and a high school soon enough. That's not going to happen. I don't foresee it happening here in Newcastle County. We're pretty limited to the property that we have.
I want to say, especially to you and to the people in the audience, that our high school has a number of programs that are actually available to the public. Catering from Penn's Bistro and the printing services and some other video development.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Penn's Bistro under the leadership of Kit Poole catered my wedding. So, and it was fabulous. I know they cater some of the busty events. So it's open to the public. And I believe you just need to call the school and we'll reference you to the department.
Yeah, there's a website. When we redesigned William Penn back in 2009, race to the top, 2009, 10, 11. The goal was to make real world learning valuable on the site. It wasn't necessarily, we don't want to just teach math, but like, how do you use math? How do you use science? And so in that, embedded in that model, in order to generate the energy around it, it's like, okay, well, that's good, but why don't you make some money for it? Because if you're gonna do this, we wanna send you on trips. We want you to go places. So your fundraising is your business. So Penn Bistro they'll cater service to events. Insight Pharmaceuticals used them to host their grand opening breakfast for their new place in Wilmington 2 years ago before COVID. It was like a $300 internationally attended event that they catered. And what's great is who runs the books? The accounting class. Like, so the accounting class runs the books for the bistro, for Penn Farm, for the digital. They're telling them, like, look, you're killing it on profits here. Like, granted, you can't, like, not true profit, but it's like, it's a real deal. Farm, if you could be a part of the CSA, and the farm sells food to our own nutrition services department. We serve our students in the cafeteria. So they get seasonal foods in their cafeteria. So there are business opportunities there. Now, our students who are phlebotomists, they do draw blood, but they do it like, you can go if you want to go. If you're like intrigued by this, I'm not kidding. When they're at that phase of their class, they need to have 30 live draws in order to sit for the phlebotomy exam. They'll take any arm. Through there with visitors, and the girls and the guys are all lined up with their little things like this in the classroom, just walking around. And some people are like, double me up, and they have all the chairs lined up, and they have to get 30 of them. So we are there to engage the public, whether it's in that kind of way, or if you want to cater, have an event catered, digital media too, a flyer, wedding invites, if you want social media advice and guidance. The kids are dynamite. There are 2 videos on our referendum website that were done by students. No adult interference other than here's the space for supervising. The Charlie Hope video I just talked about, and the one of a young lady talking about the tennis court. Those were done all by students. Produced, written, directed, filmed, edited, all by students. So I strongly encourage you. We're here. We're not, there was a time where we were very standoffish. So many people, I've been around for 33 years. Our student bought it way back in 1991. I've never left. I love going. It is a space that I wouldn't see my career go any other way. I really would. Some of you know me from my time at William Penn. So you can try to remember that I'm a different person now. Some of you remember me, and I remember you. I see you all over the place. It's a good feeling. I believe that Colonial can do a lot of good. I'm excited for some opportunities to engage in Newcastle City. Thank you for opening up the door to our staff around the concepts. I also would just encourage you that our kids are also fully engaged in that space. Thank you for that segue and allowing me to get up. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, go back to our regular sequence and excuse me, the minutes of the last meeting. There are any comments or corrections to the minutes? So here, motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Second?
Second.
And all in favor? The minutes are approved. Your pleasure, treasurer's report.
Good evening. This is the unaudited treasury report as of January 33rd, 2024. Total unrestricted funds, $9,412,489.50. Total restricted funds, $2,589,815.42. Total in the cash account, $12,002,304.46. I don't think I have any specific differences. There was one in the capital outlay on page 4 of your budget report that was significant. between December and January, and it was, we did some curbing, and it was done by Gregor and Pereira out from 10th Street, and it was a necessary situation. We did curbs and drainage, so it was pretty secure. That's the only thing I have. It's staying.
Okay, any questions from council for Ms. Garland? Was there a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit?
So,
Second? All in favor?
I,
Report is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
As we been doing in the absence of a city administrator, under the administrative report. And you may have noticed if you come into town that the work on the intersection of Sixth and Delaware began last week with replacement of granite curbing. I talked to someone from DelDOT who advises that the repaving will be done as soon as the weather's warm enough to blacktop plans. So, DENREC recently approved the permit for our floating pier after a long delay. I think one reason for the delay is the confluence of events. The person managing the project, the DENREC retired, coincided with the departure of our city administrator. And not long before that, our city engineer, Dave Athey, who'd been very involved, became seriously something. So with the loss of all those people, this project seems to have kind of kicked off the table for a while, but we've kicked it back up the line. The secretary of DENREC signed off on it. I'm working with Mr. Athey's supervisor at AECOM, the firm we work with for engineering services, and he's previously involved in the project and is trying to get things moving. Mayor Leary and Chief Mayuski are also working on it, so we hope this is going to get moving again. Our code enforcement officer, Furio Cassell, has announced his retirement after over 7 years with the city of Newcastle. Mr. Cassell also worked closely with the Tree Advisory Commission and was very helpful to them. His last day of work will be Good Friday, February 16th. We wish him well in his retirement. We're beginning the process for hiring a replacement, and until then, Mr. Bergstrom will handle some things, and we'll work with the contractor to fill the gaps in necessary code enforcement. The recent, well, now a couple weeks back, the freezing rain and falling opened up potholes around town, big surprise. Public Works is trying to keep up with them. They patched a large pothole that was at the intersection of South and Fourth out here, very near Goodwill. So first to their equipment, and there have been numerous patches to potholes on Third Street extended, and the Public Works Director believes it needs to be repaved as the patches are no longer holding. This is technically part of Wilmington Road, which makes it DelDOT's jurisdiction. So I've been in touch with them, and they're going to try to get it on their list. No promises as to when, though. Sort of related to the treasurer's report, an audit of the city's accounts for fiscal 23 which ended June 30th last year, is nearing completion. And we will have a presentation to council once the report's written and ready for our review. And related also to the budget, the council completed its mid-year budget review last week. The treasurer reported that we did a pretty good job projecting income and expenses when we prepared the budget last spring. As usual, we were conservative in these projections, and so we're now in pretty good shape. Several income items, such as property transfer taxes and delinquent tax collections, came in well over the projected amounts, and we have received 101% of the projected regular property tax payments for the current year. So this extra income means that we will be able to complete some projects that we now have estimates that show them to be higher than the amount we originally budgeted. And these include completing the refurbishment of the interior of the police station, the purchase of an audio visual system for this room to make it easier for all of you to hear what we're saying and what people at the podium are saying, here, the recorder to pick up more easily. And also we'll make it possible for us to show PowerPoints and other types of presentations, which is particularly helpful when maps and zoning requests and so forth are involved, because that gets pretty hard to describe without you looking at it. Another item, we had budgeted funds for the repair of the roof of the trolley barn, which houses our public works department. Before that work was initiated, another section of the roof was damaged in the January 9th windstorm. The estimate for all these repairs now exceeds the amount budgeted. However, there may be some insurance involved because of the wind damage, so we're working with our insurance agents to see how all these numbers come down. Our budget for this fiscal year did include funds for the dog park. Mr. Zelt and his group of volunteers are beginning the process of getting bids for clearing the land and installing fencing. And Mr. Zabaka and I met with students assigned to our project to create an accessible database of pending and approved building projects with associated documentation, maps, plans, reports, etc. The students asked what we're looking for, and we discussed what additional information they need from us. Planning Commission Margot Rain, Planning Commission Chair Margot Rain joined us for part of the meeting, and we'll be meeting regularly with students as this project moves forward. So that's the administrative report. Chief McCabe.
Very much. I have a few things for council tonight. First, I apologize for the delay, once again with my monthly report. We're through some glitches on the state data. Hopefully everybody got it last night. If there's not any questions, I just wanted to touch on a few things. I think probably since I was in this position, this may be the lowest cost of service monthly bad water. So, crime and false security continue to decline. And I again credit that to our folks out there every night, with it, control how they control it, and the relationships they develop with their communities. I always post response times. That's a significant factor in reduction for us. You may notice that some of them look high. I do describe some of the outliers, but I wanted to pay further attention to the fact that most of them seem to be above the 5-minute mark, which is kind of what we shoot for. The reality is most of our response times are in the area of 2 minutes. The outliers do have that effect. So, but this was more highlighted more for this month than usual. So, and those outliers were typically, there were calls for services that were outside of the jurisdiction that are all, we don't necessarily call on the radio that they're on scene, which basically stops the clock, or starts the clock in either scenario. So, with all those yellow highlights, that's the factor. I don't know if there's any other questions on the monthly report.
And questions from council?
Okay. I know you've heard me talk about the importance of listening to what's happening maybe on the county or state level. In the last few weeks, tonight specifically, the county held a public safety committee hearing. Retention improvement was an issue. The state held theirs with JFC last month or last week. There is that consistent theme again that recruitment is an issue. Depending on who's delivering the message, the word crisis may or may not get used. You know that I've used the word. It may be different for us than it does for other agencies because of the fact that we have folks working for us that are marketable. And we've had this discussion, and your help in helping retain the people that we have has been remarkable and has resonated throughout the state, I might ask. But we still have that issue. We weren't completely successful. We did lose an officer, so I'm short one right now. And we're again being lured away from the competition that's in. So it's going to increase. Agencies are suffering at a great level. And two themes that I've heard both on the state and county level was there's an acknowledgement that we are sitting on officers that are marketable. And they're acknowledging that municipal agencies are or could potentially suffer from this. We're in a good place, thanks to you all, for a while. But we do have a contract coming up in July that's going to have some impact on long-term effects. So I wanted to point that out. We have a very unique scenario. This is one of the oldest police departments in this area. We have a remarkable relationship with our elected officials. We have a remarkable relationship with our community, and our officers recognize that. This is a good working environment. And I think that, along with the relationship that we have with you, has been incredibly impactful in the people. We are at a critical phase where the natural progression, we want to leave to go somewhere else, and maybe another level of policing that doesn't exist here. That's a natural progression that exists anywhere. Being disrupted by recruiting techniques that say, you're so sure we're going to reach out to our political state. Come with us. I'll give you 25 grand. Come work for us. I'll move you over and leave you as a sergeant. Come work for us. I'll put you right in location. You know, come work for us. I'll put you in the SWAT team. So we've addressed this at a state level. And we have created what we hope is a very robust research and marketing and recruitment campaign. We're now hunting for the funding. And I just wanted to point that out to you, that this is a collaborative effort. For the most part, agencies are working together, recognizing that the non-traditional recruiting techniques that exist right now are going to damage the profession as a whole. And these 60, 90, 120-second response time that we're enjoying here are not going to be here for that short. And this is across the state. There are agencies downstate right now that are really, really suffering. So I wanted to put that kind of on your radar. Maybe keep your ears to the ground when you hear the conversations. I was a little disturbed to hear that it was almost something we need to accept, is that we're going to lose folks to these larger agencies so that they can stay whole. I've shared this with my colleagues of the larger agencies. You take 6 of my people, hypothetically. You're no better tomorrow than you were today with 6 people, but we are decimated. And I think most recognize that. But in a state of panic, I think, you know, and there are consequences to these larger agencies that can't typically fill a complement. In some cases, if the state's in the state situation, if they don't remain at a certain complement in a certain county, they owe that county. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. So again, I put this on your radar just to let you know that one, what you've done this point has been remarkable and sent messages up and down the state. And you know, when we get to the point where we're talking to our folks soon, we keep them whole, we make them whole, we stay competitive. We're going to stay whole because of the relationships you've developed. And I thank you for your year on this. We are just about ready to schedule our reaccreditation. We've set all of our records out, be evaluated by 2 different assessors. It's called a mock assessment. It's come back with some work. Next week or so, we should get that cleaned up and then schedule a date. We hope if this works out, if not by the March meeting, then maybe certainly by the April meeting, we can proudly say that we've been reaccredited. And then we can give some more information there. I look forward to working with council, specifically council, by the way, with police advisory committee that we're going to start talking about soon. I did want to give council an update that the post position, the executive director of post, has been named, retired major from the state police. I can't think of a better person for this job. He literally was designed for this job. His entire career is about training. It's about standardization. So he is working right now on a document to provide all governments with a guideline so that we're within the parameters of the new law, House Bill 206, that outlines the advisory committee. And I've said this publicly at the state level that if you wanted an example of how to create a committee, come to the city of Newcastle. You all have done this for years, and you're very, very, very good at it. So I don't think this is going to be a huge lift. But I just wanted to also put that on your radar. We have plenty of them. But there will be some guidelines and if the law says mirror the existing post, the idea is you don't have to do what posted, but you want to mirror that. So, and that's with respect to the makeup of the committee. Next month, I hope to present my annual report. Hopefully, will be online first. My goal is to get a few in advance because it is typically very lengthy. It will include a breakdown of the crime stats, comparison to the last 2 years, all of our outreach initiatives of the last year or so. And then I'm going to add the transparency report that I typically add to a tab on my website. I'm going to add this to the annual report that says a breakdown of force complaints. I think we have pursuit reviews, disciplines, action taken, and then, breakdown of enforcement by demographic, breakdown. These are all things that, we've been doing for regarding your, this is a lot of the recent conversation about transparency police has been asking. And then last, I know I've talked about this a lot, but we're in full here with our behavioral health initiative. So, given it the name, it's called CORE, Community Outreach Response and Engagement. We just today got, I have it in here somewhere, all of our cards that are off, I think I talked about this before. We had about 1,000 of these cards made up, and every one of our officers is gonna have one of these, so that when they come in contact with anybody who has started with abuse issue or mental health issue, we're gonna hand this card out with a number to contact, a peer interventionist that we have hired now. We have through a partnership with the Community Collaboration of Delaware. We've hired one full-time peer outreach and one part-time peer outreach and a case manager. All the data we collect is going to be manual for the people. Next time we talk about this, we're not talking about it theoretically. We're going to talk about what kind of results you have. So this card goes to somebody who's in crisis with substance abuse. It doesn't matter for the most part why we came into contact with you. You could have maybe shopped. We recognize that the underlying issue is what you're doing with substance abuse. You're going to get one of these cards. You're still going to get a summons for trust. We do have a diversion program because we signed an MOU with Hero Health. So if they are eligible for diversion, we'll absolutely take that into consideration. Well, we don't want to walk away from somebody who's got a need. Give them this card and they have the ability to reach out. This card will then, their data will be collected, submitted to the peer group, where the peer group will do a follow-up. So the first part of this we call the contact. We have contact with somebody in crisis. The second part of it is going to be the connect. We want our peer interventionists and our folks that are suffering from substance abuse disorder to connect. And we're going to keep track of each one of these steps. So we'll have a list of how many connects we had, and then how many connects. Then the next step is that we get them into service. Whether it's maybe at the recovery house, maybe it's some kind of intervention, whatever it takes. If we're successful in getting them into these services, we're going to track that as a service. And then the last is we're going to work on a time frame. I think 30 days is what we decided. If we're lucky enough to have these folks participate in whatever service we get them into for 30 days, we call that a stay. So connect, it's contact, connect, service, stay, and then we're going to be able to provide data and suggestions to show them. We are working with, and I just saw this today for the first time. I was excited to see that after a very long time, we have now have access to what's called an overdose map. This overdose map is contains it. I don't know if any of you remember the heat maps that I used to do back during some of my council presentations, but very similar. You see the state of Delaware, and then anytime there's an overdose with Narcan, you'll see a circle. An overdose with a triangle, that's a fatal overdose. And then it'll show where it's happening. We'll be able to see real time where these things are happening. So our folks that are monitoring this are going to have access to this, and the data is stolen from 3 different places, basically. Police reports, OEMS, which is fantastic. They clean us up. If we don't necessarily classify something as an overdose because we thought maybe it was an assist or trouble breathing or a heart attack, we never really fixed classification. EMS comes in and fixes that for us. And then forensic science, the coroner has been willing to enter this data. So this is a very strong database that we're going to have access to. It's going to show in real time what this problem looks like. And I know I've shared this with you, that the grant that we got to do this was for the entire 7 to 11. So our numbers don't look that bad in the city, but we're surrounded by a lot of problems. And it's good, it impacts us, we all know. So we're really excited that this is up and running. And we hopefully the next time we talk about it, we have the data to talk about the concept. I think that's it.
First of all, Chief, thank you for looking for resources to get for this program and hiring the folks that will be part of the core team, and then training. I'm sure there was a significant training for existing staff on your team to, be able to, engage with people. Not yes, you're getting a something, but you're also getting, recognizing these cues. But my question is, do you know what is, from the programs that already exist, what is the percentage of people that from contact to connection, right? How many, is there data on that? And then how many, is there any data on, as you make a connection, how many people move to either stay or move to service, right? Service and stay. Is there anything to that, Matt, like that you have already? Because I don't want to be skeptic, but I'm just wondering how many people will go from, getting this card to putting in the trash and never making that connection. I hope everybody does, first of all, but I just wonder if there's any data on this.
So first, I don't know that there's any other model here. I think this is a hybrid kind of, the other part of this is the fact that we've hired a clinician who's gonna write for this part-time too. I don't know that there's any other model. I was asked that same question today, by the folks that were giving me access to the OGOS and that, because we have a report writing system now that requires us to enter, data that DSAM is supposed to track. And we just I don't have those numbers. And I don't know that it's as specific as what we're looking to do. So now there may be a model out there when we right now the database we're building is old-fashioned Word Excel or Microsoft Excel, right? So the database that we're going to create through RedCap, it's University of Delaware program, they've done something similar, but not completely. So I don't know that there's a model out here to give you those numbers. We are literally, at least and from this initiative, starting from scratch. To your point, generally speaking, without the terminology that we're using, it's not, I don't know how successful it is. I don't think the numbers are that high. I believe we're going to have a very high contact in the next rate. After that, we'll see. But that's just me speculating. I think we gave the example of one of our officers was approached at a gas pump for somebody that said, I'm in trouble. I just got out of rehab. If I don't get somewhere right now, this program, by the end of the day, I'm going to recover gas. Great. So, and that's all forward one day. I mean, well, the stay was 30 days later. We got it forward one day and then 30 days later, he's a stay. So hopefully they all go away.
Yeah. And then what can we do to promote this? And second of all, will you track that, what you just said, basically, when you issue a card, like the contact?
Yeah.
Will you track that as well, even successful or not successful, just, like a reasoning?
Yeah. So
The circumstances as well, right?
So maybe not, for the next report I give on this will be a breakdown of maybe I did this month, depending on how many we have, but last month we had 100 contacts. But we'll do contacts next week. The more you can talk about it, that's why I ran out and grabbed, and we're going to wait for the and we have a plan to have those both billboards come in at 273 and 141 with this initiative on it, and with the number. Thank you. I'm sorry, I also left out that in April, Peter Haig, most of you have dealt with the traffic engineering issues in the city of Newcastle, has a safety center. And asked you to present this project at that safety center. So we're going to wave the flag as much as bigger. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Dorfman, do you have anything to add? I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you don't, you don't. You just came back, I know.
I think our community rating system annual checkup, so we're pedaling pretty fast. Make sure that goes.
Okay, thank you.
Ask the questions now, it's costing your education.
Well, it's just vacation. But maybe give him a heads up on things. Go ahead.
Just noted pothole on 6th and South today.
Yes.
Is that being taken, like, is that, something that's gonna be resolved,
I hope so. There's a couple of issues I have with LDOT right now, including whether Interesting sweating on, across the street from.
Okay, so communications. Let's start down here today.
So I just have, two things. So, I learned the other day, about Del Doc collecting 91,000 bags of trash this year. I'm sure most of you in here know the amount of trash, around our community, many of the gateways are full of trash. So I'm trying to form a volunteer litter picking group. I have a Facebook page that's up. There's a letter to the editor. I hope it's published this week. I think it should be, that announces this. It will be published this week. Thank you. Our first event will be Sunday, February 18th at 3 p.m. And we'll meet at the old SPCA right here on South Street. We'll litter pick down, 7th Street. If we have enough volunteers, we can go out Washington Street. Again, this is just all volunteers, not city sponsored. I'm supplying the bags. I'll have a couple extra. But if anybody's interested, I hope to do this. Hope to start mapping the areas that we clean and it kind of makes a difference. So that was my first thing. The other thing I wanted to say is I just wanted to thank Suzanne Souter. So since the city administrator has left, she has picked up many duties and responsibilities. We know she's the elected official, it's her responsibility, but there's a big difference between doing something and getting paid full-time and being paid here as the council president for less than a part-time job. So she has done a lot, coordinated a lot of meetings, emails. So I just wanted to say thank you. I do appreciate it.
The thing is a dog park. Everyone doesn't know, it's in the Hermitage area. The trust is going to be giving us the land. It's 150 feet by 200 feet. And we're looking to see if we can get the area cleared out. It's a place to put some parking as well as then design for a small dog park for the smaller dogs and then a big park.
Councilperson, Del, I thought it was yard, I'm sorry. The house.
It was feet.
Okay, great.
No, the other one. It was
200 feet by 100 feet.
yeah, okay, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
Council President. It was brought to my attention, last month that we lost Mr. Charles Fleetwood, who worked at the city for a long period of time in the Public Works Department. And then recently, city and family members lost Ms. Edith Sanis, Ms. Alice Jacobs, and Ms. Gloria Katowski. I would like to congratulate all the local businesses. Many of them have been acknowledged as some of the top restaurants or businesses in Delaware. So I would like to thank them and congratulate them for that distinguished distinction. This past Saturday, myself, Mayor Leary, and Councilman Chewbacca met with several residents at a community engagement event that was put on by Mayor Leary. Really enjoyed that, and looking forward to participating in more of those to come. And then I would like to see if we can do something in regards to the city website in terms of revamping it. Definitely think there's opportunity there. Specifically, I would like to see if we can make an effort to send out electronically city council meeting minutes and other subcommittee meeting minutes to folks where they can sign up to get an email blast of those minutes, in addition to setting up the Newcastle Crier electronically. A lot of people love Newcastle, move away, but they very much are a part of our community. I would like to know about what's happening. It also can serve as a marketing tool for outsiders and visitors to be apprised of things that are happening in the month. All I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Zabaka.
Thank you. Wanted to say, Mr. Engel, thank you for your service. That was incredible to hear how many years you served in the city and state. as Marshall. And Joe, thank you for starting that group for cleaning up. I got an invite last night and, I invited some people and they reached out saying, if this, sponsored by the city, I'm like, honestly, I don't think so, but, I think we'll find out tomorrow at the meeting. But I was still inviting people because I figured, we're there with the thing going. And then one thing I thought of perhaps that, we should do is reach out to the Lions Club maybe, because I know they do a shore cleanup too, so perhaps having it to their volunteer base would be helpful to, and perhaps they're already, showing up anyways, but just a thought. For the website that, Councilperson Souter already mentioned, we have met with, UD students, but the only thing I wanted to talk there that's new is that, we have emailed the students, they did send us an initial proposal of what they want to accomplish, and we kind of revised it to say, to include some things like, details and overview of the projects that are either pending or approved, the details, so you can hover over and see a little more details, a sub-page about the exhibits and documents that have been submitted, so think about all those concept plans and stuff. And public meeting notes linked to those particular columns, so you're gonna have to search for, if you're just looking for a certain projects, you can see all of that link there. So that's very exciting for us in that sense, and to Brian's comment, we have talked about the potential of revamping the website too for this same project. We have told the students that our priority right now is the projects part. We didn't want them to fail basically because they only have one semester to complete this. So we told them, try to see if you can carry this out during semester, and if you can, give us at least suggestions, or if you do have extra time to complete that as well, that would be great. But then I think we're going to be looking into continuing this probably next semester if that's not completed, to look into some modernization efforts for the city's website. For community outreach, I agree. It was great conversations that we had. I would just encourage even more residents to use these opportunities to come and give us your solutions and ideas for some of these things that you think are either bothering you or that are happening in the city, because we're just individuals here voted to represent you. So we're not experts in everything, right? So we do like to listen to your ideas. If you have any opinions or concerns that we are not bringing up in the council, that would be great. Playground Subcommittee has officially in their last meeting and requested the funding to request for funding to the city council. So I have shared that with council president Souter. So this will be part of the discussion in sometime later when we're talking about FY25. This is relating to ARPA funding. I think is the request for phase 2 of the playground. One of the things that got brought up to our attention, which is basically motorized surfacing. So we're comparing that to mulch and seeing the pricing differences and maintenance and all that stuff, the cost of getting the quotes. Last thing there is I would really encourage residents of each neighborhood to volunteer your time either as providing input on kind of what playground equipment you would like to see or not see in your neighborhood. And then secondly, encourage you to volunteer your time a little more in a sense of becoming either part of subcommittee or volunteering to serve with somebody on the subcommittee from your neighborhood. The way the system's set up right now is we need at least one neighbor to help with a satellite playgrounds that we're talking about throughout the city, so that you can champion that engagement in your community with your neighbor, so that we know kind of what are the next steps. Feel free to reach out to me or Suzanne Swift, or come to the playground subcommittee meetings with your ideas, or volunteer your time. And lastly, I wanted to mention that Encore, which is a newly founded nonprofit, Old Newcastle Outdoor Recreation, has been incorporated, and they have been working for about several years informally, in the sense they were a nonprofit, in submitting grants for playground in the past, and they're still working on it. So I just wanted to give an update that they have submitted 2 grants recently, one actually to the trustees, or close to submitting a program right now, if they are for all elderly citizens, some shading systems and benches. So it's communications with trustees right now about that project. And then 15 other grants have been identified for funding. So just to give an update that there are some other things happening in this world. So this is kind of like playground subcommittee. And that would be all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Business from the mayors.
I'd just like to recognize and thank again Mr. Cleveland for his significant service, not just to the city, and the fire department here in the city, but to the state as a whole, as a state fire marshal. It was really exciting to receive an invitation to tour the sheriff's house on February 5th. I met with Joshua, Superintendent Joshua Bowles and his staff. It's been over 10 years in the making. And it's exciting to see the final outcome. Having had the opportunity well over 12 years ago to actually tour that building, I have a reference point to know how far it has come. And yes, they did keep the jail cells, so they'll still be there. A residence preview will come in March, so be looking for information on that. And that'll be followed by a formal open house one day during the week of April 21st to 27th. And again, more information will be coming. Again, our community outreach on February 10th in the library, we got some really great information and input, and we'll be following up on that. And thank you to Councilpersons Mataway and Zubaka for participating and bringing the donuts to Concord. The next one will be March 9th at the Buttonwood School from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, and Councilpersons Day and Mataway will be joining me there. The Delaware Historic Society is offering a tour on February 25th entitled "These Houses Were Home: 5 Generations of Black Community in Old Newcastle." It's being led by PhD candidate from the University of Delaware, Melissa Benbow, who interned at the Reed House during the summer of 2023. And she did research on the African-American population of Old Newcastle from the 1800s to 1940. Unfortunately, it sold out quickly. It's full. But I have emailed and asked that they either make that part of their regular programming or they at least add another tour or two for the benefit of anyone else who would like to do that. And finally, here we are on Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras is French for Fat Tuesday. It's also called Tuesday, Carnival Tuesday, or in some cases Pancake Tuesday, depending on which celebration is taking place. But no matter the day, it's generally, maybe not for us in this room, a day of revelry that includes parades, parties, and gastronomic overindulgence before the Christian fasting season of Lent, which begins tomorrow on Valentine's Day. Well, lundi les bons temps roulés, as they would say, let the good times roll, and happy Valentine's Day if you can make that all. Thank you. Okay.
I only have one thing tonight for the council president comments. As you see on the agenda, if you looked at it, tonight we will vote on the selection of a new city administrator and on the contract between the city and the administrator. We're not naming the new administrator tonight because the person selected didn't want to give notice at the current job until their selection and contract are officially approved. I think we can all understand that. And after the meeting tonight, I'll send an email to this person if it passes, advising them of this. Then, I mean, if it's approved, that they will give notice tomorrow at the current job. And they've asked us to wait 24 hours before we make it public here. Again, Delaware's a small place, and I understand why they don't want their coworkers to learn through the grapevine that they're leaving. They want to tell them themselves. So I think that's understandable. So on Thursday afternoon, all those according to schedule, I'll be sending out notices, which include a brief biography of our new city administrator, to the mayor, the chief of police, the director of public works, the chairs of all our boards and commissions, trustees, and of course, to the weekly and to the online newsletter, Newcastle City Topics, and it'll be posted on the city website. So we want to get the word out there. And at this point, the tentative first date of the person will report is March 25th. So, Goodwill Fire Company.
Good evening, everyone. You should have received our January 2024 review in your information packet. In this report, we've added the additional requested information, reference to the outline of the response area. And we've also added the percentages associated with the run numbers and the incidents by hour for both fire and EMS. The front of the report, all the information is in orange, that is all the EMS data. And then starting at page 10 starts all the fire data. One thing that I did want to point out, on page 9 at the top there, the column disposition incident for patients is blank. The state of Delaware reporting system for EMS, DEMERS, went through a pretty significant update and change in the beginning of January. For some reason, all of that information did not transfer over from the existing version to the new version. So it's just showing 99 calls per service kind of in a flex state there. A high percentage of those calls are BLS transfer. So if you look at the number, the category directly below that. So that's why there's this skewed number with that. If you have any questions on this, please, you can either ask now or you can follow up with myself or Captain Moore afterwards. That is okay. I do have some additional information. We are in the early stages of planning a water supply drill for the city of Newcastle. Hopefully on Saturday, April 20th. What this will do is to provide some historical context. Over the summer, Goodwill was requested to respond to Chester County with the Oxford Fire Department with a fire that had to overwhelm their water system. Just about less than a month ago, North Brunswick, New Jersey had a significant incident where they had a water main break during a fire incident, required some outside of the box thinking. We obviously are in a position where we have the complete trust in MSC, but we also understand that our water system is old, just like this town. So we want to put to test some pre-plans we've developed that hopefully we can either determine that our math and our thought process is spot on, or that we need to make some changes and develop that more. This is again, though, it's not just for a water system failure. We could have incidents where we've got large fire volumes or large fire loads in some of the warehouses that we protect. We talked about rail cars earlier, or I guess late last year. It's an incident or a way to provide water to that. So there's a lot of good to it. And again, it's putting our pre-plan to a test to make sure that they are actually functional and painful. So with this, there will come some parking inconveniences throughout the day. We'll be issuing and down plenty of forewarning on that and working with the community for that. And finally, I know he's not here, but congratulations to Furio on his retirement. He's been a huge help for the fire company over the past, his entire term of employment, providing information and helping us get updated power data. Are there any questions from the council? Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
So next is public comment. You sign in, you state your name. Minutes that were shown on the timer. This is public comments on things on the agenda or things about the city, general things about the city.
My name is Pat Molina, to the state. I'm happy that I had been part of this good meeting. I'm a very old person, but my observation, I came back, in April of last year, is that we all love animals, especially our dogs. And there are people who are walking their dogs. I'm happy that they are doing that. But there are a few people of that sort who don't pick up their doggies. I don't know what the city has about if they are caught not picking up their doggies. Is there a fine or something for that particular person?
Even to remember signs saying that, but I'm not positive.
My suggestion will be, this should be highlighted, is a warning in the newspaper that anybody who is caught not picking up the dropping of their dear dog, should be fined to start with $100 for that. It is very, medically very bad. That topic has a lot of bacteria and various things. And my thing is, there has been a problem of that at the junction of 6th Street and Newcastle Avenue. And then also very close on South 9, it gets flooded even with 1 inch of raining. Is there a definite plan about, because the federal government came up with an infrastructure plan where there is a lot of money assigned for repair of the, and in my judgment, I'm an old man, there should be a flyover over that area where we get flood even with 1 inch of rain. Some suggestions, I may not live long, but I think we have a good city, we want to keep it clean and well cared for. Thank you very much.
Say briefly that Ferry Avenue is DelDOT's jurisdiction, and we've been working with them for several years and are continuing to work with them to try to get that resolved.
Yeah, thank you. But there was no infrastructure assignment until last year. So I think we should make sure it is given to the county, the state. So that we are waiting for the money. Thank you.
Bill Gross, 1301 13th Street. It's an issue from last year. I think I addressed the chief about it. Chief, you had mentioned that there was funding that was given to the police department to install cameras in the city. And of course, I'm not going to ask where because it's none of my business. But how many cameras have been installed from the money that was allotted from the state?
Bill, off the top of your head?
So it depends, there are no cameras that have been installed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
As far as ordinance 544, I know about the parking. Thank you again for clarifying that I had it backwards. The off-street loading and unloading. Does anyone know, could you clarify, is it mandated as part of projects, current or future, that they provide off-street, off public street parking and unloading of vehicles for restaurants, stores that are part of the project?
That's part of it.
Not part of this program.
Okay, again, just like with the ordinance 543, each of you have the right to amend and put your own personal thoughts on any project. So I urge that even for loading and unloading, that they not use city streets or public streets that they provided as part of the project. Unloading and loading areas. Getting back to 543 ordinance, I think we had a wonderful infomercial on why CBD oil and marijuana is wonderful for people's health. That's great. I'm not saying it shouldn't be sold, but in our city, I can definitely tell you that it will definitely diminish people's views and opinions on the wholesomeness of our city. And again, I urge each and one of you, council people, to please suggest and amend the marijuana part of the ordinance, that you include current and future sales of CBD oil not to be allowed within the historic district. You go a mile out, mile over, mile up, but it's not appropriate in the city of Newcastle.
You state your name again, different.
I'm not up here to reflect what anybody else says. I figure I might as well take this opportunity to mention to all of you, you all remember when the SPCA looked over here on South Street. How many people here have been to the new SPCA on Churchman's Road? It's a state-of-the-art facility. It's only 3.5 miles away from here. I've been a volunteer there 5 days a week for the last 2.5 years. I kind of run the laundry room there. I do a lot of the dirty work. They need volunteers. A lot of it is fun. You can walk the dogs, hang out. They have 3 big walk-in cat rooms. You can hang with the cats, play with kittens. We need help doing laundry, making animal treats, and there's all sorts of special events that people can sign up for. And just, if you feel like coming in and hanging out with a dog or a cat for a little while, it's a great way to relax. And believe me, we need all the help we can get. So thank you for your.
Hello, my name is Mike Thatcher. It'll take about 5 seconds, real quick. Talk about banning sales of marijuana and all that stuff there. I don't think anyone's brought up the subject of cultivation of it. Like outside of the city, like in the empty commercial buildings around here, are you really willing to pass up on the tax dollars that would create? Because you're gonna put an agriculture business out of business, an illegal business, I guess. Something to think about. That's it.
What else?
I want to talk about life issues, the parking issues on East Third Street, in particular where I live. Chief, if you're free after the meeting, I might want to talk to you. We talked about some of these things before. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about them, but every so often I get angry. It's things that are going on. It's the same stuff over and over again. People parking up on the sidewalk, people. As we speak right now, next door neighbor has a vehicle that he rarely uses because he's got another car parked right in front of my front door. It's been there for over 1 month, hasn't moved. Tires are up on the sidewalk, up on the curb. That's supposed to be illegal. Okay, so we got there right now, Chief, I guarantee. So that's one issue. He's not the only one. He's maybe one of the worst offenders, but neighbors have told me there's other people that do it. I know why they do it. The streets are narrow. They were laid out 400 years ago. You know, people definitely get their side mirrors knocked off, but that's no excuse. Okay, if you got a big vehicle with tires, you know, like that thick, I'm sorry, but you know, you really ought not be parking on a narrow street like that. And if you do, you do it so at your own risk. But when you park up on this, I've got bricks that have been knocked loose, right where this guy's tires are right now as we speak. Okay, I'm just taking those bricks, putting them out back. I'm not messing with them anymore. All right, don't ask me to. I'm not fixing up the bricks where people are allowed to do that. Okay? The reason why parking is so tight because the renters outnumber the homeowners. You've heard me talk about this before. I don't have time tonight. I'll talk more about that later. You know, we need to have a ban on people chopping their properties up into multiple unit rentals. You've heard me talk about that before, at least some of you have. But at any rate, you know, it's an issue. Parking tires up on the sidewalk, up on the curb, and also leaving your vehicle on the tenant. Now, I was moved to call the governor's office. And this poor young kid answered the phone. I give him an earful, you know. He won't be the same, but he's opened up in case of one. He's supposed to get back to me, you know, like in 3 or 4 days. Because I checked online and it says state law, unless I misread it, and I know there's probably a caveat to it. Maybe there's, you know, some, you know, extenuating circumstance, but it says 7 days. I heard in the past 30, other people told me, no, you can leave your car parked however long as it's tagged and registered, you can leave a park however long you want. I want answers on this, you know, it's not right how that goes on. I have another neighbor that has a curb cut. We're not allowed to block it, but apparently she is. And that's another issue. I've heard people say totally illegal. Other people say, no, it's okay. Well, see, the problem with that is I try to park on either end of that curb cut so I don't get hemmed in because a lot of people don't know how to park. Sometimes they don't leave enough room for a piece of paper between your bumpers. So that's an easy way out, right? But when they block that driveway, they block me in too. See, it's not wide enough for a car to be. So we have issues with that. I think everybody on council needs to get up to speed on what the codes are. And Chief, I'll be happy to talk to you about this afterward, but I've had enough of it. I want to get some answers from the governor and we need to step this up. We need to get on the ball with these parking regulations.
What else? Okay, then moving on. Sorry, look down too quick.
Carter Hill again. I would just implore council and just, you know, to stop trying to use the government to go after your peaceful neighbors. It just seems like there are so many bigger and better things that everybody could be focusing their time. That's all.
So, okay, one is, I need to comment on the marijuana thing. I've been to 4 different high schools, one of them twice. I just say with absolute certainty, at least a dozen kids that was high school started with marijuana and direct on heavier drugs. Come on down to see, you're damn near killed me. So don't kid yourself. I don't say go out and substance exposure. You think and behave. Now, why am I homeless? Because my house turned into a death trap by way of fire, collapse, explosion, or combination thereof. It's been a massive, I mean a massive addition put on the back of the house that's connected to mine. This thing is so big. It has no footer, it has no firewall. It's connected to the house next to it, which sits on railroad ties, and these two houses are actually meshed. They're the same property. They might have separate services. Structurally speaking, they're the same building. So if one catches on fire, the other catches vice versa. Now, I was paranoid about the end unit years. I've worked on decades. I've always expected to burn down due to electrical problems. Hence, I ripped my ceilings out, stripped my walls, tore some of my floor out, sealed everything with concrete block, fire sealed everything in the house. And that I was quite confident that would hold it. It's got this addition that's been built as an Osage Avenue style bump up on top of it. Now you go on YouTube and watch Osage Avenue burn and 62 buildings.
explain. This particular block, 700 block Fire Street has balloon ceiling construction, meaning specifically the rafters run the length of the city block, and they're all over. This happened, running down the entire city block out in Gray Street. And it started on the first floor, second floor, third floor, goes down to the ceiling, went down the entire city block, and set the whole city block on fire. So I'm not willing to sleep on my floor with my head against my front door, surrounded by smoke detectors and fire extinguishers. I'm 60 years old. That house been in my family almost 100 years. Yeah, you think people do this kind of stuff, you know? How did this happen? I can get into that. I'm not. As far as December's meeting, I made statements about people having a problem with the local police department. I have 4 names. That would go through the same thing that I belong to through the police department. I talked to one, you're late, about his statement, on the other street, can't say something. I'm not coming to you with it, I'm going to state what. Just so you know. Like always, I've been doing it for 30 years. I'd like to have my house, maybe somebody can figure out how to disarm this multi. Basically, I've built multi communities, I don't think anything expected it to be. Plus the building attached to it is old and beat. I'm not willing to live there, nor can I sell the place to the taxes.
Time goes. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for listening, and I really appreciate the opportunity and I'll take part of your time. But since this is an infomercial, I suppose I can add, CBD is good for your dogs and your cats, and you as well. So you work at the FPCA, and you know a cat or a dog who is in pain. And also, I'm a living town, so I wouldn't encourage any extra cameras in town, whether it's been cheap, rat, of political signs being stolen and vandalized in recent history. So maybe something to consider. So we can catch those bandits. Lastly, I'm glad that my business these days because the ordinance doesn't cover CBD, and that's great. Nothing scary about it. It's safe for kids who have ADD and other things, and adults, like I said, cat and dogs. This is so benign, it's not even on any kind of schedule list or anything. So I'll leave that to the council if you want to embrace marijuana businesses. I'll leave that to you, but I've already pointed out kind of the hypocrisy and also the ignorance that can come with that. Because marijuana can really help a lot of people. You don't have to like it, you don't have to use it. You own yourself. You can decide what you take into your body because you own you and no one can tell you what to do with that. For decades, this has been a controlled substance, and they've only in recent years decided to offer certain licenses to certain corporations. Can you imagine the lunacy of telling somebody that, well, in Delaware, we're going to give 2 licenses to 2 apple farmers, and that's it? Can you imagine how much apples would cost if you left that to 2 producers? And that's what we kind of have here. The corporations run the cannabis industry, and no one who lives in this town who has a little garden in their backyard is allowed to grow it. So whether you're religious or you're just believe in a higher power or not believe in, you including nature, or you believe in a higher power, I would argue that you should not try to explore plants. This is not where we should spend our time. Thank you again.
We have a resolution on the agenda tonight about reporting people that work for us, and that's very commendable. But we need to, make sure that the people that do work for us are in a good environment. And, also that they have a significant backup, from the job. I'm just asking you to, as you go forward and look at your budgeting process, that you look at, the people at the city office, for instance. I was, made aware of a situation where a business came in to, ask for a permit, and we had to wait 45 minutes because there was no one, the person that takes care of that was bad. And there was no one to do that specific job. There's no one. So I'm just, making you aware of those kinds of things. Those people need to be that, significant. Thank you.
Anyone else? Move on to whole business. Ordinance 543.
At this time, I'm gonna move the table ordinance 543 for two reasons. One, it's currently not in concert with the suggestions from, or I'm sorry, the recommendations from the planning commission. But also because I want council to be able to, we heard some public testimony, council can digest it, do their own research, ask the residents. I just feel that for something that's important, we should take more time and do a little about it.
So can you just, so you think planning commission was against this ordinance, is that what I'm hearing, correct?
They weren't against it. They, approved it, but suggested changes to the language.
Okay, thank you.
So I make that a motion to table.
To the table, is there a second? Okay, all in favor of tabling these ordinance? Okay,
I just had a question, I'm sorry, I couldn't make comments because we don't get answers. I just wanted to reconfirm, this ordinance was not preventing marijuana product manufacturing facilities or testing, but they were making them permitted uses in industrial zoned areas. Am I reading that correctly, or is that's on page 1, it's the fourth whereas. So it did not affect, it is allowable in these industrial areas.
ordinance 544. Is there a motion for a second reading? Do you need a motion to read it?
You guys usually do it. I don't know why you usually do it, but yeah.
What would you like to say about ordinance 544?
Well, why don't you just read the title?
Yeah.
Ordinance number 544, an ordinance to amend Article 5, supplementary district regulations 230-28 off-street parking and loading requirements section 815 in downtown Gateway District. Subsection A, parking requirements for specific use as follows. 5 apartments. There was a change that came in from the planning committee that I'd like to amend the ordinance with changes that came in. One of the changes that we're requesting is a change in the word multiple, changing it to multi-family. The dwelling and residential components of mixed-use buildings, which adds a 2 space per unit. And then they add the definition of dwelling, multifamily, as a building containing 3 or more attached dwelling units having common walls and or roof at a separate definition of townhouses and apartments. The proposed ordinance 5, number 544, with the amended changes for the planning commission.
Can I just ask Andrew about the definition? Is this consistent what is in our code already, like the I know that we have the definition already laid out, is this just basically copy pasted out of the max if you? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Council?
We had, multiple family dwelling and residential components of mixed use buildings. That second part, the residential components, there's a section in the code that allows you to do shared parking for mixed use buildings. And it allows you to take just a percentage of the parking that's required. So, but with this, the way that it's written, I look at it and I say, you'll have to use the 2 per unit, but you'll still be able to do a reduction on the mixed use parking. Am I right when I say that?
Chris, I have a statement. See, section planning. I believe that, I did that, don't keep that, I didn't look at that specifically on in here, that I believe that it's still say. Okay, wow, see, Chris can verify.
While we're waiting for Chris, can I ask Andrew another question? This was brought up late last year, right, like some November maybe? Doesn't matter, I guess, I forgot that.
Have a planning commission hearing and.
My, question here is, in memory, it's not working right now. Was this, what was the motive behind this? Totally different thing from 1.5 to 2, is that?
Definitely there's concerns, I think, within the community, with all the apartments complexes that are already gone through, after using the 1.5 parking in the downtown district. It's interesting, I'm not sure why it was 1.5 in the downtown district, but if you go back to the original area, it said at 2. So I'm just saying we should go back to that 2. Does 1.5 is down, so you go back to.
And this may be Matt's question, pointed at you. Would this apply to approved projects already?
No.
They're grandfathered in? Okay, makes sense.
Now, if the project is near the zone wall that was done, it would. The ordinance is effective adoption, and so if somebody is in the pipeline and not approved, it will apply.
Approved at what level?
Yeah, I was at the bottom.
So I think that it would be appropriate in case we got sued for reading the sign of that question that we made.
Okay. So do we perhaps need to table this one too, until we clarify that issue?
That's up to you. I was just answering the question that was before me, because if an ordinance is effective upon adoption, I think I can speak in general enough terms that I can do. It's hard. So if you have any ordinance that's effective upon adoption, you have, that ordinance goes into place as soon as you guys raise your hand, right? If there are projects that are that are approved, right, they would have something called a vested right, because they've already gotten to the final stage of the development process. Now, folks that are in the interim phases, right, whereby they have applied, thinking about applying for this kind of thing. They're either in review or what have you. You have a test that's been developed by the Delaware Supreme Court. Margaret's still here, she'll remember me talking about this just the other day. Has a vested right from a case called 244.5 acres of land. There's a balancing test that goes in where you say, you look at the nature and extent and degree of the developer's reliance upon the law of which they went forward. and the nature and extent and degree of the public interest in the ordinance amendment. Then the court makes a good faith reliance on existing standards, so it's a balancing test. I could go through, and Erica's here with me, we just went through this all the way to the Supreme Court. You're familiar with that, right? So if you adopt it, what we would do then for any project that if you drop it effective immediately, we would then, if there was a project that was in the pipeline, we would then have to do what's called a vested rights analysis to determine sort of what that is, right? And whether or not, you have to do a balancing calculus to predict what the court will do. That was a lot of words for a very, very simple question, but it is not and Joe, I know you experienced this, so, and he's experienced me talking to Woody about in the past, but the only thing you could do, one of the other things you could do, if you so choose, you could say any project that has applied is exempted from, that will proceed under the ordinance that was beforehand. And then that would basically say any ordinance that was in the pipeline, or any project that was in the pipeline, the new part of the requirements that apply. So that was a long answer to a very short question, which I tried to get out of trying to say anything that was all that privileged. Margot, I'd say the exact same thing when I talked the other day. So, to your question, Madam Chair, you could, we did not do any analysis of projects that were we certainly table that, which would be what's called a pending ordinance. So, in other words, you could table it for a month, and we could do a quick and dirty analysis of the one. I could probably give a better answer to for today's question, because I didn't have to look that up, if that was something you wanted to do.
Well, it sounds like if we don't do that and we try to apply these rules to the projects that are in the pipelines, we could get sued, right? Is that correct?
Yes, but I will say that anybody can sue you,
Well, yeah.
$250 and go to the courthouse. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah, there is a litigation risk, and Eric and I have done no analysis of that litigation.
Can we append the ordinance, basically put in a clause that this will be applied for any new projects as of the date that this gets approved?
Yeah, friendly amendment, this ordinance shall be effective upon adoption, provided, however, it does not apply to any application that was received before.
Okay, I did not get all that.
Provided, so take the end sentence, provided, however, this ordinance
This ordinance,
does not apply
this ordinance does not apply
to any application
to any application
filed with the city prior to the effective date.
filed with the city,
Filed with the city
filed with the city for the applicable,
prior to the effective date.
prior to the effective date.
Maybe I'm missing something, but anyone who has their application in that's not yet been reviewed or researched by planning, that's not yet coming to planning, why wouldn't it affect that?
This is a legislative determination. I'm saying what I just wrote now was, I was trying to get the tenor of the group. Any application, if you're in, you're tempted, the way I just wrote it.
But like, to that point, right, the test would have, so for the applications that haven't been seen yet, basically, new applications, you would have to conduct analysis. Do vested interest analysis to see, whether they have spent, resources and stuff like to, I'm just simplifying this.
Can I have counsel, this probably is my role, generally stay quiet. Student table, this is table, and then me, for you, consider it next, pass it to the next meeting. Because there's some things that I would like to add.
I think it makes sense to table it and get it right than to try to rush it through and.
For the public analysis, somebody walked in tomorrow, didn't satisfy these requirements in this ordinance. Truly a new application to be trying to do. It's what we call the pending ordinance doctrine. What that says is you can't jam an application in just to get around. So we apply the pending ordinance doctrine. If it comes to me, we'll apply the pending ordinance doctrine. You need to wait until the next meeting. So we can sort of figure out.
Yes, sir. Chris, did you have a, sorry?
Yeah.
The answer, I lost it now. To answer Councilman Day's question, I do believe it would apply to the shared parking, because one of the directions of the shared parking section is to apply the parking as if it was a standalone use. So, the language stands the same.
Standalone use, and then you do the calculation.
Yes.
with All the uses.
Yes.
So you still get a reduction for shared parking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. Yeah, so we're in both.
If I could add my 2 cents, I would encourage tabling as well, because we have several projects in different stages of submittals. All in different stages of investments in engineering. So we would want to make a determination or make a recommendation in accordance with Max's guidance on the court's test of where in the process those projects are and how they comply or don't comply with the criteria of the court.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Is there?
You do not have a motion.
I'll make the motion for ordinance 544.
And to put it on the agenda for the March meeting.
So second, all in favor?
I'm sorry, can I just ask, do we need to put a motion with amended language that we talked about, or should we just? Okay, the reason I'm asking is so we can add that language in the meantime, so it's, you know.
That's why we're tabling it. So we just.
So we can.
Public's benefit, things we like to do, we have some of the plans. Moving forward, we're gonna try to prepare a ordinance that was originally introduced on a red. They can see that. You know, a little bit of room.
Okay, so we'll move on to ordinance. New business, the first reading of ordinance 4545. Mr. Mattingly's ordinance, I'm gonna ask him to read it. But before I do, I want to just make the point that as always, this is a first reading. There will be no discussion. We're simply gonna read it into the record and then we'll move on and it will be scheduled for public hearing and future discussion and vote.
Ordinance number 545, an ordinance to require all city of Newcastle boards and commissions to provide annual reports to the city council on activities of the preceding year. Whereas council of the city of Newcastle possesses the authority to adopt, amend, modify, or repeal the city of Newcastle municipal code. And whereas the city council has determined that the proper administration of the municipal government requires that all boards and commissions of the city of Newcastle provide annual reports to the city council on activities of the preceding year. Now therefore, ordained by the city council. Section 1, Chapter 1, General Provision of the City Code, adding the following context. Article 3, Administration 1-31 through 1-39. 1-31, annual reports to the city. All city boards and commissions in the city of Newcastle shall be required to provide annual reports to the city council on activities of the preceding year. The schedule of such reporting shall be determined by city council. 1-32 through 1-39. Section 2, any section, subsequent sentence, clause, or paraphrase this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional, invalid, or such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, in the event any existing ordinance or parts of ordinance ordinances, excuse me, are in conflict herewith, the provisions of this ordinance shall control. Section 4, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon passage.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a discussion and vote on a potential selection of the city administrator and the contract. Council had an executive session last night where we discussed in detail contract that was negotiated with the candidate selected for this position. As I said earlier, we're not mentioning the name at this time. Is there any further comment or discussion from council? And I move that we, so.
I make a motion. I just want to confirm before we vote that the changes that we have talked about in a special council meeting have been agreed upon.
Yes.
Okay.
And with the candidate, they've been shared, the changes that came out of last night's executive session have been shared with the person we're selecting. And the person has no objection to those changes.
I'll make the motion. The city administrative contract is an approved candidate as selected.
For a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Do we need a roll call on this? Okay, aye. It's unanimous. So. Have a new city administrator. But not for local. Okay, and that's it.
Is there the light at the end of the tunnel?
Next item is discussion, possible motion to vote on resolution 2024-2, approving the subdivision for a property known as lots 152 and 153 of Buttonwood. Prepared to speak with us about?
Yes.
You have before you is a resolution to approve a subdivision. The subdivision was approved by the planning commission after a December meeting. It creates two lots. It was approved by the planning commission with conditions. The applicant has fulfilled those conditions, and the Chair Rain has actually signed subdivision plat. Your subdivision regulations require that subdivisions that do not propose public improvements have to be approved by resolution by city council. Your role is here.
So is this one of those situations where we have to approve it, but we really can't disapprove it because it's been through the process and meeting the conditions?
You have provisions where you could remand it back to the planning commission with specific questions.
Okay.
But generally, your role is ministerial, if I can use that.
You have to approve to meet all the requirements. Okay. We need to speak for the reasoning of this subdivision, just, in the request from the owner.
The applicant had a parcel of land and he wanted to create two lots to build two single-family detached dwellings. It was consistent with the zoning. According to the applicant, it was two lots 50 years ago, but that was immaterial to the planning commission's decision because it's been one parcel for some time now since, most importantly, since your subdivision regulations were adopted.
And I totally respect the process that happened there. Just curious if there's any public comment. Is there any neighbors that,
No, there was no public comment. No planning commission.
Thank you.
I make a motion we approve the subdivision.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, next item is, I guess Mr. Rogers might as well say it. Council discussion, possible motion and vote on resolution 2024-3 of the revised downtown development district boundary expansion.
Before I get into the expansion request, is the council familiar with the downtown development district program?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So, with that, the city, of course, has an existing downtown development district in 2000, that is approximately 85 acres. And we created it, 85 acres back in 2019. Maximum at that time was 95 acres. The city, explicitly approved it only as 85 acres, knowing that they would want to expand it at some point in the future. In 2022, the city wanted to expand the DDD boundary. The city council at the time had us look at 3 different alternatives of expanding the boundary. They chose the boundary that extended the boundary of the DDD district south along 7th Street. We went to the state cabinet committee on state planning issues in late 2022 and received approval for that expansion. But it was conditioned on a subdivision taking place that would remove what they called a split boundary issue. The state does not want the DDD boundary splitting parcels. It was a very unique situation. I don't want to get into the details of it, but the cabinet committee's condition was that one of the properties in the proposed boundary expansion area needed to be subdivided. We met Mr. Barthel, the city administrator at the time, and I met with the property owner after that approval, talked to them about the benefits of the DDD and what would be involved in the subdivision. We kind of left it in private hands after that point. Then over a year, came to a head when the property owner explicitly stated that they were not going to subdivide the property. So we were unable to meet the condition of the state planning commission's approval of the initial boundary expansion request. We then revised the boundary to go around the subject property that needed subdividing while still meeting the conditions and the criteria of the DDD boundary. And that's what you have in front of you. We took this revised boundary request again to the Cabinet Committee on State Planning Issues in January. It was approved by the Cabinet Committee with the condition that there would be a confirmatory resolution approved by the City Council approving the DD boundary. You are the final say in this boundary expansion request. So if you have any questions about the specifics of it or the background, I'll be trying to answer them.
I'm thinking it's in total here, but how many total acres does this have?
Are we at total or in this request? Yes,
What does this request at?
approximately 7.8. And we're allowed to go to 105 now. State law changed for the program. I don't know whether it was the law, but
So we could still add it in if we wanted to. Okay, that was where I was going. Good. Thank you.
Questions?
I guess my question is really, because the council already approved the direction of this, is this also in a way just a formality, given that this has already been approved by prior council, state has given its blessing to it, so I mean, the current council, sorry.
The initial resolution said that they had to come back anyway.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we look at and we're trying to figure out if we could go back to the initial resolution. Chris, my recommendation, my memory is that the state
They condition it also upon having it confirmed with you.
The council previously approved by resolution. So. It didn't approve it at all, it just allowed them to go check. Start the process.
This is where the supposed to go as well, right? Is that correct?
Like the southern terminus of the expanded boundary is the proposed battery. The rectangular site.
And I guess just curiosity wise, how do we parcel out the other part? Did the other owners of those parcels or no, closer to the South Street, did they have to be in line with, like, they gave their blessing to this?
The answer is no, it's just an economic, it doesn't require them.
But they're.
Yeah, it's economic benefit. So whether or not it doesn't change the use, doesn't mean anything, it's just level. So it would not be, it's not like a change in zoning where you would have to do that, it's just like a 30-word overlay, which basically says you get the benefits of the DDD if you're in it. So if there's no reason you give them, they say, hey, you're in the DDD because they don't want to exercise it, nothing ever changes. Zoning goes and changes their property, you just skip that.
Thank you. So I was at the May meeting in 2022, when we first presented. I know there was another gentleman that spoke about the DDC program. And I saw your report, council at the time asked you to come up with a report for other alternative options. Read that report. This talks about 11 parcels. There were other areas in the protocol, the historic district, other alternatives that were possibilities. Council at the time moved forward with the application for this segment. Question for Max. Is this a matter of tying a bow, or is this something that is it yes, no? Or?
Subject to, and I'm gonna lean on Chris, but subject to there not being any condition functionally related to the DDD approval, you need to expand it, right? I gotta know the answer, but this would be a discretionary approval.
Right.
Otherwise, but if it affected our DDD designation, and I don't think it does, if we don't approve this, is there gonna be an impact on our DDD designation?
On our existing DDD? No.
Okay, so then it is discretionary.
But the DDD that I'm proposing for parking changes, it's now affect this area.
I don't understand.
Don't confuse downtown gateway.
Would it be part of that? Okay.
Downtown Gateway.
That gateway is a district.
That's a zoning district.
Okay.
Being in or not in the downtown development district has no impact on the zoning.
Okay.
They sound the same, but they're very different.
Well.
I guess we have to read it, right? We used to read it, but here we go. Whereas under the Downtown Development Districts Acts 22 Delaware C Section 1901 etc. the Act, that the state of Delaware may designate districts within Delaware cities, towns, and unincorporated areas that will qualify for significant development incentives and other state benefits. And whereas each such district is known as a Downtown Development District, ADDD. And whereas under the Act, the city's population permits a maximum of 105 acres to be eligible for DDD designation. And whereas the state previously approved the designation of approximately 85 acres of land in the city as a DDD, leaving 20 additional acres available to be designated as part of the city's DDD. And whereas the council desires to take better advantage of the Act by requesting and applying for expansion of the boundaries of the city's existing DDD. And whereas the council approved resolution 2022-12 that authorized the city administrator acting as the city's district administrator for the DDD, the administrator, to file an application on behalf of the city to the Cabinet Committee on State Planning Issues to expand the city's DDD so as to include certain properties in the 7th and South Street corridor, and to provide such other documents and information as may be necessary or desirable in connection with such application. And whereas the city received approval from the State Cabinet Committee on State Planning Issues on October 2nd, 2022, to expand the DDD boundary conditioned on a certain property within the proposed expansion area being subdivided to avoid a split parcel issue. And whereas for reasons beyond the city's control, the property has not been subdivided. And whereas the city made slight revision in the proposed DDD boundary expansion request to remove the subject parcel that required subdivision, with the total acreage to be included in the expansion area equaling approximately 7.81 acres. And whereas the properties proposed to be added to the DDD, the expansion properties, per the revised boundary request, are the following.
You don't need to read all of them.
Oh, okay. It's a list.
They're listed.
As listed, it's a list of tax parcels ranging in size from 0.1 acres to 4.26 acres. Whereas the council believes the expansion of the city's DDD would greatly benefit current and future residents, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and others within the city of Newcastle. Resolution 2022-12 also requires a confirmatory resolution to be adopted by the council, expanding the DDD boundaries once approved by the Cabinet Committee on State Planning Issues. And whereas the Cabinet Committee on State Planning Issues at its meeting on February 1st, 2024, approved the revised boundary expansion and boundary correction effective upon the final approval by the council to amend the boundaries. And now therefore be it hereby resolved that the council hereby approves of the DDD boundary expansion to include the expansion properties and shown on map 1 district boundary expansion prepared by AECOM and attached hereto. The council will adhere to the district plan and the local incentives and all other responsibilities associated with the district designation within the expanded DDD for the duration of the district. Okay, so we moved and seconded.
What, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Oh, sorry. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2024-3?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
You abstain, okay. I will say to those I need to sign that resolution because I have to get clerk to sign it tomorrow morning and have to scan it and send it to the state board because they have a meeting coming up and they need this, so we're gonna get dropped. So. Okay, the next thing. Okay, council discussion and possible motion and vote on resolution 2024-4, appointing James Michael, known as Mike Smith, to the Flood Resiliency Committee. And you have in your packet a resolution, and Mr. Smith has lived in Newcastle since 2020. He's a resident of Van Dyke Village, which is an area that is subject to flood risk. He has a connection to the rest of the city in that his daughter is the pastor of the Presbyterian Church. So, and he was suggested as a person to join We had a vacancy, a term expired in December, and that member did not be reappointed. So Mr. Smith was suggested by a current member of the Flood Resiliency Committee, who also was stand. That's how we came to nominate Mr. Smith. So I will read the resolution. Resolution to appoint James Michael, members Mike Smith, to the Flood Resiliency Committee. Whereas the city of Newcastle established the Sea Level Rise Task Force by resolution 2022-04. And whereas resolution 2023-32 converted that task force to a permanent committee. And whereas resolution 2023-32 also established a staggered schedule of expiration of the terms of current members of the task force. And whereas a vacancy exists on this committee, now therefore be it resolved that the city council hereby appoints the following person to the Flood Resiliency Committee. James Michael Mike Smith, Flood Resiliency Committee, term ending February 13th, 2027. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is a discussion, possible motion and vote on resolution 2024-5, a resolution to create a City of Newcastle Employee, Citizen, and Business Awards for the exemplary service, leadership, and civic engagement. This is also from the Mattaway, so I'm going to ask him to read the resolution.
Resolution to create the City of Newcastle Employee, Citizen, and Business Awards for exemplary service, leadership, and civic engagement. Whereas pertaining to the charter of the City of Newcastle, section 11, and the City Council shall exercise all municipal powers necessary to proper administration of municipal government, the welfare of inhabitants of the City of Newcastle. And whereas the City Council recognizes and acknowledges the many employees of the City of Newcastle go above and beyond for their employment duties, provide exemplary service and effective leadership to the city, which results in the betterment of the city for all residents, visitors, and stakeholders. And whereas the City Council recognizes and acknowledges that it has civic-minded and accomplished residents through their actions, words, and deeds, further the legacy and heritage tradition of the city, and play an integral part in subcommittees, managing community events and initiatives and other contributions to the building of community and our society through their professional and service-minded endeavor that support humanity. And whereas the City Council recognizes and acknowledges the many businesses in the city that are taking up the mantle of being engaged corporate citizens and provide quality of life services to the community. And whereas the City Council believes that formal recognition, such exemplary service and leadership, quality of life efforts and civic engagement will further serve the well-being of the inhabitants of the City of Newcastle. Now therefore, be it resolved that there should be created a City of Newcastle Employee Award, which may be awarded annually or as appropriate. City Council and the mayor may nominate individuals from which up to 2 the award recipients may be selected, and such individuals may be formally recognized by City Council and the mayor at the next regular City Council meeting following the selection of the award recipient. There shall be created a City of Newcastle Citizen Unsung Hero Award, which may be awarded annually or as appropriate. City Council and the mayor may each nominate one individual annually from which the award recipients may be selected, and such individuals may be formally recognized by the City Council and the mayor at the next regular City Council meeting following selection of the award recipients. There shall be created a City of Newcastle Business Difference Maker Award, which may be awarded annually or as appropriate. City Council and the mayor may nominate businesses from which up to 2 award recipients may be selected. Such businesses shall be formally recognized by the City Council and the mayor at the next regular City Council meeting following the selection of the award recipient or the City Council.
Thank you. Is there discussion and questions for the council?
I could ask a question. So I see it's the council people and the mayor on nominations. Do we think that eventually we'll head up to the community to do something?
I think that's a good question. My thought was to capitalize them, so I think that certainly, neighbors and friends and political or efficient individual as council or the mayor say, hey, Joe Davis, a pretty cool guy, see the story, I would like to consider him this year, as your, economic. Then Joe Day or myself or any of us on council, would be the ultimate effective decision making. And the thought is that if there is a person that you deem appropriate, you could nominate them in a given year, or in a given year, if you think there is no that person.
Just to clarify, the public would have access to email us or some sort of, at least at a minimum saying, I would like you to consider my name on X, Y, and Z for this award. So
I think that's the spirit. I think service to the people. I think that's just in line with what we do on a daily basis.
Just a quick question. I love the idea. I like the idea that people can select it up. But if all 6 of us voted for someone else, who actually chooses?
So, citizen.
Yes, it's.
The citizen is made, say that each person can select.
Oh, I got it. We could each nominate somebody in the.
If people are, you know, like that, but I went to the thought there. Thought is that, we have a lot more citizens and residents than we do and for businesses. So that's why I kind of thought selling that too. Certainly, open to discussing. But the spirit of this, I believe this came by, it's what the city has become or what it will become, is this is the time to those 3 groups working together and partnering, to build a community.
So potentially we could have 7 citizen awards, 6, 1 for each council person and 1 for the mayor.
That's presented.
Right, but not necessarily. Okay.
So just to throw something on the ball, okay, just to be completely opposite. Would you foresee any accusations of favoritism or in the selection, like, oh, you picked this business over that business when all of these businesses are doing X, or 2 or 3 are doing Y, but you pick this one, their favorite, or the same for people or employees. I can see an employee going, well, why didn't I get selected? I just see some. Like I said, throw it on the wall, you probably saw it's all out.
Think, things out, control of something, right? But she's putting something forward because you can choose people get out. Choose any law out there, can inherently law. Find one lawyer that comes down on one side of constitutional law, the lawyer that comes down on the other side. So we'll never, but what it is doing is saying that all employers recognize their employees in some way. I think there's a gap with respect to what we're currently doing. We ask a lot of our citizens and residents in respect to subcommittees, et cetera. And we also lean on our business community. So, is it perfect? No, but I'm willing to stand with our citizens, business owners, and employees.
So what form does the award take? Is it just a certificate, or and I know it doesn't say it here, but is there some sort of stipend listed, or a gift card, or no money? No money. Honorary. Okay.
Are the employees required to be here for the presentation?
No, I don't think I don't think it's like a raffle. You have to be there. Certainly, our employees are hard, so
Ms. Mayor, I thought that same thing, didn't want to be a Debbie Downer in a sense of, like one business won the award this year, the other ones didn't, right, because we're choosing one, maybe two. But then I thought, like the best is nowhere, right? Doesn't mean that other restaurants are not good. It just means that this restaurant. Sandwich here. So like, that's kind of, so I don't know if this helps everybody in the room, council, but that was kind of, this isn't necessarily, I see almost kind of like, of a resident who has done a little more, depending whether it's the city or just something they've gone for, we may, I nominated for, same thing for businesses, and employees. It doesn't mean that other staff members are not valuable. In my, that's just kind of how I saw it. And I want to say thank you, Brian, for bringing this up. I actually just thought we had an award for staff employees, because when we were having people retire, without these resolutions here, we have a formal system saying, thank you for your 10 years of service, and thank you for 15 years of service. So third thing I want to say is, can we tag something like that in here? For recognize service of staff employees beyond certain year, right, year 5, year 10 or something. Because I do think in today's world, it's 20 or 30 years. And no computation for that either, but just because we do need we should recognize what we pay with us for, longevity, in positions. So just something to throw out.
Yeah, no, we're gonna, I feel like this is more table setting and getting us to a place that we need to be. And it's, for, you're asking about is it formalized, then, I had thought about it, certificate, maybe some type of trophy or plaque. But again, I want to bring it to leadership and collaborate back to the city. And
If I can just talk about the employee side of it, I don't think I know all the employees, so I'm not sure how it would be fair to pick. Maybe we can update that to maybe administrator should be doing some kind of selecting, having to impact with everything. And I don't know how that includes MSC. To make sure they're as part of all this. Okay.
Well, I guess, I don't know, Brian, what was the initial thought there, but I suppose there's.
MSC employee, we could always recognize them.
I agree that we wouldn't know all the employees, but we could ask the administrator because they work with them, on a daily basis to, to learn about some, some of these, and they can nominate people too, so I think,
Well, the issue with MSC, just to kind of, is they're not a city of Newcastle employee, and most of them don't live here. Most of them actually live in Maryland, which is.
for that award, as written, it would not include the MSC.
That is correct.
Nor would it include, gentlemen, ladies, the work.
Right, because the
And if in town, they could be a citizen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was just,
Max, you understand?
but you can formally come up with.
Okay,
Like, you can try it 1 year, see how it works.
that's true.
And there's nothing that ever stops us from asking the city administrator to give us 3 or 4 names and what they've done for the year. I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I don't think there's ever a reason not to reward exemplary service. Period, whether it's a citizen, a business, or an employee.
I just have one concern. And because it's a non-monetary award, I think I know the answer, but we have union employees.
It's not all.
Okay, so we don't have to get into the contract issue.
That's why when the mayor said that they're safe, and I still know.
For discussion?
Could we have a motion?
We need a motion, yes. Does somebody make a motion to adopt this resolution?
Motion to amend the resolution. Are you open to that? It would be,
That's already years of service, yeah, this resolution, or should we add a separate resolution for that? Okay, so then motion to vote on resolution number 2024 dash. Yes.
Motion and a second. All in favor? All right, thank you. Okay, and the final item on tonight's agenda is another nomination to a committee to the board of directors. Dave, would you like to read this?
Absolutely. And I'd like to begin by saying, I talked to Sue today, she had every intention of being here, but she actually left work early, she's ill, so she did apologize.
And she did send some information to the secretary.
So resolution 2024-7, resolution to appoint Assunta Sue Scarpitti to the Board of Adjustment. Whereas the city council adopted ordinance 534 at its March 8th, 2022 council meeting. And whereas the purposes of ordinance 534 included reconstituting the city's Board of Adjustment as a 5-member board composed of the mayor as the chairperson and 4 city resident members appointed by city council. And whereas there is currently 1 vacant seat on the Board of Adjustment with its term ending on April 12th, 2027. Now therefore, be it resolved, the city council hereby approves and appoints Assunta Scarpitti to fill the vacant seat in Assunta Sue Scarpitti Board of Adjustment term ending April 12th, 2027. And Ms. Scarpitti has been a resident for 5 years, and she lives in 7th and South Street here.
Sue, I think you did an excellent job.
Any comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? All right, please, unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You may stand adjourned.